Welcome to Leaseweb Tech Talk. Myself, Pamily Sobhan, and today I'm here with Marie-Pier, who's Sales Director of Leaseweb Canada. Thank you, Marie-Pier, for taking your time and being in the show today. Before we jump into today's topic, I would like you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, Pamily. MP for the more common souls of the business, sales director at Leaseweb Canada for a good 2.5 years now. Really rebranded the company locally and worked closely with enterprise customers on the go-to-market strategy and leading a great sales team.
That's amazing to hear. So, Marie-Pier, today we want to learn more about data sovereignty and how it's impacting the businesses in Canada and why it is important for the cloud and infrastructure business. Before we jump into it, let's look into the basics. So the first and foremost question, what is data sovereignty and why it is important?
Yep, that's a great question. We see it as a very trendy topic in most of the conferences we attend. So the data sovereignty or data sovereignty idea refers to a concept where the data is in fact subject to law and compliances within the country of regulation. So what this means, for instance, in Canada, is that the data that's stored within the Canadian borders all fall under the PIPEDA Compliance Act. PIPEDA is Canada's Personal Information and Protection and Electronic Document Act. What this ensures for companies is that as they take the digital transformation into the cloud, we see a greater requirements for meeting those regulations. I think it used to be the wild, wild west, but now companies are really axing into compliance, and data sovereignty is the most important topic for Canadians right now.
Okay, Marie-Pier, so how about we move to some of the facts and myths? One of the question or concern we usually hear is that data sovereignty is only a big concern for the large enterprises. So is it only for large enterprises, or it should concern all size and volume of the business?
Yep, that's a good question again. Data sovereignty is perceived as a challenge for a large enterprise, of course, because they have their extensive data operations and they follow strict regulation requirements. However, that's definitely a misconception. Data sovereignty and rules and regulation apply to all businesses, large, medium, small. So for SMBs, compliance with local regulations such as PIPEDA is just as critical to avoid potential fines and breach of confidentiality. Additionally, smaller businesses may be facing unique risks, such as relying heavily on the infrastructure and cloud service provider that store data within their specific jurisdiction. Ensuring that data is stored and processed locally and within the country of jurisdiction is hypercritical for businesses to control sensitive data. What ultimately data sovereignty is about is safeguarding data and in maintaining legal operations accountability. This is essential for all organization, of course, as you can imagine, in order to build credibility and resilience, and also the foundation of trust with their customers.
Does it also mean that you are compiling with the data sovereignty law just by keeping your data within the country's data centers?
It's definitely one of the factors.
Okay.
It's not the only driving factor. And it segues into the next question, where we talk about what compliance is around PIPEDA. But there are multiple steps to take in order to achieve data sovereignty. But data residency within a border is definitely one of the founding grounds for the concept.
How does it actually impact small, medium enterprises? And how do they make sure they are compliant?
Data sovereignty impacts IaaS and cloud service providers by requiring them to comply to regulations. So while there isn't a specific certification to become PIPEDA compliant. There are multiple certifications that data centers and data center operators can have to ensure that the data that is hosted within their data center is actually compliant. ISO 27001, SOC 2 are types of compliance certifications that help build that foundation for data sovereignty.
And also the trust factor among the user.
Yeah, definitely an important point to put into practice as well for as a service provider is to ensure that to build that trust, we're transparent about where and how we host the data we collect from our customers. So having data reside within the specific country and having strict boundaries between regions from a networking perspective is hypocritical in order to provide data sovereignty to our customers.
Yeah. That's very insightful, MP, because I never thought data sovereignty could be such an impactful subject. However, that brings me to the next question is that how does data sovereignty impacts or influence overall the cloud businesses, or just to say infrastructure as service businesses like Leaseweb?
Yeah, I think from a Canadian business perspective, they have a due diligence when they're shopping around for an infrastructure provider. They need to ensure that the data and the processing, that's also important, actually comply with national regulations. Not blindly trust a provider because they have some nice flashy thing on their website. It's important to actually ask frank questions to your vendor to see where they're hosting data center. Are they physically in the geography that you're looking to host the data in?
Yeah.
Business really need to understand that if they're hosting outside of the country of jurisdiction they operate in, then they can be it can involve a significant risk. They can have inadequate legal protection, data can be lost, and then if a provider in an other country goes out of business, it could risk for them to lose all their data, especially now in the market with the geopolitical context. We do see instability in some volatile regions. There are also, when hosting outside the country of jurisdiction, a loss of control over the data. So it's really about doing the right homework, asking the right question, and ensuring that your provider, such as an IaaS or a cloud provider, is transparent with how they run and operate their business.
That brings me to the question, MP. Why are we seeing a trend where companies are repatriating the data? And what's driving this shift towards on-prem or towards a hybrid or cloud in general?
Yeah, there's definitely a growing demand for greater control over sensitive data. Cost management is also an important factor, and operational autonomy. So being able to be a little bit more agile in your daily operations. But first, let's take a step back and break down what cloud repatriation actually means.
Exactly. That will help also our probably someone listening who is new into the whole cloud business.
So initially, a few years ago, we saw the big boom of everyone wanted to be in the cloud. It's a little bit like the AI of this world today. It's the buzzword. It's going on. But when you're diving into public cloud's environment and you realize that you don't necessarily have control over costs and little less access to functionalities within the daily operations. So data repatriation is really the concept where we're actually migrating data back to private on-prem or in a hybrid cloud model to offer that flexibility for customers. While public cloud solution offers scalability and they often come with unpredictable costs. We see and hear it, and they have less direct control. So by repatriating data or adopting a hybrid cloud solution, effectively, companies are able to optimize performance, manage expenses much better than they were, and also ensure compliance more efficiently. Hybrid strategies that combine both on-prem infrastructure and cloud infrastructure provide the best of both worlds, flexibility and that data sovereignty that you're looking for. They allow consumers to host data in their home country, ensuring themselves that they're compliant with the local regulations. And this approach also gives company greater control over their assets. What we've recently seen in an IDC report is that we expect 80% of respondents to actually go back to a hybrid or on-prem model, which is quite interesting and definitely a change over the last few years.
So MP, tell me more about this. That is there certain industry that are more concerned about data sovereignty than the other? And if you can, it would be great for the listeners to know if there is any key benefit for business when they prioritize data sovereignty.
So there are definitely industries with stringent compliance needs. Like, for instance, finance, holding financial documents, healthcare with medical patients, and any government bodies are required to be compliant, and they're highly sensitive to data sovereignty. However, any business that's actually handling customer data, customer information, is required to be compliant to the regulations. The key benefits to enhance security are building customer trust. I think that's one of the biggest foundation in what we see in our conversations. When businesses show they're committed to protecting data according to the local compliances in the region, it really strengthens their reputation and mitigates legal risks. So in Canada, we do have a two-step approach into the healthcare system, so both private and public. Regardless of which side you're sitting on, you do operate critical information that holds patient records.
Yep.
And any personal information then again falls back under the PIPEDA Protection Act. So it's important for all businesses to be informed and to take the necessary measures to be compliant to the regulations.
Thank you, Marie-Pier, for such a great, insightful session where it is clear that it's a critical consideration for Canadian business, the data sovereignty and how it impacts a business, how it can be beneficial. Is there any concluding word you want to say to our listeners?
Well, I think when you're considering data compliance, it's important to really find that ally within your infrastructure provider, making sure they're transparent with you, and even doing the data center walk to see physically where the data will be hosted. I think trust is the base of all relations and foundations. Yes, so definitely happy to have a chat if you guys are interested in visiting Canada.
It's great, and I'm sure that it has really given our listener the insights that how important data sovereignty is, and especially thinking about all the cyber crimes, ransomware. It's really important to be partnering up with a provider who you can trust and who can trust you as well. Yeah. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the session. Thank you to all our listeners for today's session, and please stay with us for upcoming episodes. We hope you found this episode insightful. For more content, like, share, and subscribe. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at leaseweb.com/newsletter.